What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the stream, and it is an exciting day today because it is Points Day for 40k 10th edition. We basically have the entire game, I think, including the designer's commentary document, which I'm actually greatly looking forward to because I haven't gone through it yet, but I have my document of broken rules here, and I'm crossing my fingers that it fixes them. But we also have the points document. I think the one thing that we don't have is like the GT packet, but I don't, I don't know how important that's gonna be. So, yeah, let's frickin' dive right in. I have the rules commentary open first. I think we're gonna start with that because it's a little bit more concrete than the points document. The points document is mostly, I think, just going to be endless numbers, and my eyes are going to glaze over, and I'm probably going to fall asleep. So we'll do something crunchy and interesting first, and then we'll dive into talking about points. For the most part, this document seems a little silly. Things like they've defined affected by a stratagem. Love that. They specify that command reroll is if a command reroll is used to reroll a dice that is associated with a unit, you are affecting a unit with a stratagem, which means that battle shot can't be used on it, which is perfect. I actually think that's great. There's some other I don't know, sort of unnecessary clarifications I mentioned. Like one of them is where like if all of your models have their war gear replaced, it describes what that means. As close as possible has a whole paragraph that I'm not entirely sure is necessary, but that's okay. Attach units with multiple characters. The precision attack successfully was the attacking models controlling player chooses the assigned target, which I believe is just the rule. So that's good to know. So thing on automatically successful, attack characteristics. When making an attack, if the attack is considered to have the same characteristics and abilities as the weapon making the attack. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that was a clarification that was in the last edition. Automatic hits are considered to be a successful hit roll. That's a good clarification from last edition as well. Yeah, essentially just also a glossary for sure. If a hit roll is considered automatically successful, move straight to the wound roll. Such a hit roll is not a critical hit. So like lethal hits, for example, are not criticals, which is good to determine because a critical hit does not automatically transfer into a critical wound, for example. Battle shock tests. This is a good one. Somebody was asking me the other day whether or not a battle shock test, operated differently than the procedure that was defined in the command phase section, and they were like, it doesn't say if there's a timing of non-command phase, non-battle shock step battle shock tests, and I was like, that seems like a little bit of a stretch, but it sure looks like they have it defined right here. So far, I'm kind of appreciating this document. TD6 roll is required in your command phase. Some rules require you to take a battle shock test during a phase other than the command phase, even when not below half strength. Units that are already battle shocked but still take another battle shock test in such cases. So, in case the result triggers additional effects. So it sounds like you can take multiple battle shock tests if you're instructed to, right? So like Chaos Knights, for example, say take a battle shock check when you're below starting strength. And all battle shock tests, regardless of when they happen, only move to the your next command phase. So I think that It's a little confusing. I guess it doesn't say that whether or not that happens. Maybe that's described later. There's a whole diagram here for Big Guns Never Tire, so that's exciting. Yeah, I think that this I'm not entirely sure this recorded diagram, but it makes sense. You could shoot the repulsor can shoot models engaging it at -1. It can be shot at -1, and it can shoot out at -1. Love it. Charging, charge move, distance, charge declaration, has charged, has been charged. That's all defined. Love this document so far. When a rule refers to the closest model or unit, this is the closest model or unit to the model or unit used in the rule. Thank you. Appreciate that. That was good. That's good to know. Very nice. Consolidating, consolidation move. Contested, controlled player, controlled, blah, 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 blah. A D66. Is anything use a D66 in the game? Wild. If a unit with the deep strike ability arrives from strategic reserves, the controlling player can choose for it to be set up either using the rules for strategic reserves or using the deep strike ability. I don't think that benefits you in any way, right? But there are many ways that things are added to strategic reserves. And then can have deep strike. So there's all of those abilities where you're you can remove a unit at the end of the phase if that unit has deep strike and replace them with strategic reserve. If that unit has deep strike on their datasheet, they can then deep strike back in. They don't have to actually strategic reserve. That's actually sick. Deploying units. I love this. When a unit is deployed, it is set up on the battlefield. If a rule specifies the unit must be wholly within your deployment zone or the wholly within 6 inches of battle edge must be set up within that area. If a model is so large, its base cannot be physically set up within such an area. It must be set up touching your battlefield edge. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, it doesn't have the... It doesn't have a clarification on, deployment timing. Maybe that's later. Cause it's always been an open question. Things like infiltrators, right? When they are deployed, if they're redeployed, does infiltrators still come into effect? I don't know if that is gonna be described. Duplicated core abilities. The core rules describe dozens of abilities. If a model, unit, weapon, or attack has multiple instances of the same core abilities, those abilities are not cumulative, and only one of the ability can take effect. If that ability has a number after it, sustained hit once, out 6 inches, the controlling member must choose which instance to apply. Multiple instances of the anti-ability are only considered to be the same if the keyword after the word anti is the same. I don't know how that would be any different, to be honest. Anti-vehicle, having both anti-vehicle 4 and anti-vehicle 3 would just always be anti-vehicle 3. The lower anti-vehicle characteristic would not matter. So that's interesting. So multiple instances of sustained hits do not stack together. I think a lot of people assumed they would because the keyword system feels like Legion's keyword system, and I heard a lot of people say, well, Legion does it this way, so 40k would do that, right? And you're like, well, it's not exactly how rules designers typically work. A model with an attacks the heavy bolter, sustained hits 1. They get an ability that says they get sustained hits 2. They cannot use both instances of sustained hits. They choose which one to use. Alright, well, I kind of wish that they would stack, but it's good to have a clarification, I guess. If a unit that wasn't eligible target of an attack when it was selected stops being an eligible target for that attack, for example, because of rule enables it to make an out-of-phase move, the attacking or charging unit can select new targets for those attacks or charge. So if does that does the Nurgle stratagem affect that? What is the stupid document? So, like, the stratagems that make a unit untargetable actually apply retroactively. It's a little weird. I didn't realize that. So, can you just, like, actually not shoot at a Chaos Space Marine unit? One sec. One sec. So after an enemy unit has selected its targets, if your unit is a Nurgle unit, it can only be selected as the target of a ranged attack if the attacking model is within 12. Wow. Hold up. That's insane. What? Okay. So that stratagem just negates shooting against you? That's wild. Chat, what? That's insane. That's not at all how I read that stratagem. Holy shit. Why would... Alright, first off, why would you word it that way? Second of all, that's super strong. What the fuck? You're like, oh, instead of being stealth, I'm just gonna be immune to ranged attacks. Go fuck yourself. Whoa, okay. Embarked units. Hey, we get the clarification. Embarked units cannot be targeted by stratagems. Thank you. That was not in the core rulebook, but I appreciate it. Rules that specify they take place at the end of a phase or step only take place after any other rules that would take place during that phase or step have been resolved. That's good. That was an open question in 9th edition because it was never actually stated. The game broke into 1,000 pieces if the end of a phase was not also simultaneous with during the phase. So you could, like, sequence things in super stupid ways. Fight on death is normal. Horizontal and vertical distances. It's for, like, measuring engagement range and stuff. This Hall keyword thing is popping up again. We were having a little bit of a discussion the other day that Hall keyword, or, you know, base versus Hall measurement could become problematic because a lot of things that used to be Hall measurement have moved to base measurement, and I don't know if anything has changed that quite yet. Ground level is specifically the area placed upon the battlefield. Okay, well, that makes sense. If a rule is triggered just after something has happened and is resolved before anything else. Okay, that makes sense. The huge thing about keywords. A leadership test. Oh, hey, moving over terrain when flying. This model can fly when moving it over terrain features that are greater than 2 inches in height. You measure the shortest pass through the air required to move over that terrain feature. In this example, the model has moved a total of 16 inches. So, all right. Well, I'm glad I haven't... I'm glad I haven't released my video about terrain because it's already out of date. Yeah. Oh boy. Gotta go do some editing, chat. So this is different than how this rule works in the core rulebook. Because in the core rulebook, this is not measured like that at all. But now I get a clarification that it is. There you go. So flying models move diagonally over terrain. However, they still have to measure this distance. They still have to measure the horizontal distance, which was... I'm glad that they have this diagram because it was highly unclear in the diagrams that they had in the rulebook. The rulebook diagrams show moving through the air like this, where you go in a diagonal line to where your base is, and they actually, if you look at the rulebook diagrams, they actually ignored the intervening terrain they were moving over. But that is, I guess, clearly not the case. That's a big old deal. Yep, literally contradict the rulebook. Yeah, I don't know why that was not in the Doom rules, for sure. The base voice clarification on page 2 clarifies the halls thing. Does it? Some models are so large that they overhang their base and it's not physically possible for their bases to touch. In such cases, you should measure to or from the base or hull of such a model, whichever is closer. Oh no. That's this is a problematic rule. I'm already a little bit worried. So that could mean that like if you have a model that's posed in such a way that it overhangs their base, your opponent could like suddenly like decide that they're gonna hull measure to it. Don't like that rule. We just need a base size document that tells us whether to hull measure on things. That's all we need. I'm a little worried about that. I'm a little worried about that for sure. All right, what else do we have? Moving over uneven terrain features through the air when flying. This is an insane diagram. What is happening here? These models can fly and are moving over terrain that is not uniform in height. The distance moved is the path the model takes through the air and must be sufficient for the model's base to pass through. Model A's base is too light to fit through the gap. Okay, so they're saying you don't become like intangible when you fly through the air. You fly to the... You measure your diagonal distance to the highest point at which your base can fully fit. To finish moving over terrain, models move any distance required across the terrain, then the remainder of the distance through the air to the battlefield surface. Ensuring that no part of this move exceeds the model's maximum move characteristic, and the model is in unit coherency. I appreciate like the like evocativeness of the through the air rules, but there's no way that this becomes like doesn't become like an absolute nightmare to actually play on the table. I think they use like these Militarum crates as an example because they're really easy. But you imagine like look at this ruin, right? Let's imagine moving through the air to get to this ruin. If you can't breach the terrain, you have to go like this, then like this, then like this, then like this, then like this. And you have to measure that path accurately. Ugh. I think 90% of the time, terrain is just going to be impassable to flying units. And, like, to be fair, too, they gave the example of, in the through the air movement, right? Where's the diagram? They gave the example of this Tyranid Prime, which is a move 12 model. And to move this distance, which is not that far, it has to go 16 inches. So I think 90% of the time, you just don't even go over terrain anyway. So it's almost like the fly keyword like largely doesn't exist unless the terrain is very small. Wild. If your dude's gun sticks out really far, does that mean your engagement range goes that far and you can block movement with it? I mean, see, that's the issue, right? That's like the greatest sin of this edition is like just tying so much to the physicality of a model, which is so fucking stupid. For all of the reasons that people are pointing out in chat. But I've already made a video about it, and I promised that I wouldn't keep harping on it. So I'm not going to. Out of phase rules. What? We have an out of phase rules ability or section? Amazing. Some model rules allow a model to move, shoot, charge, or fight outside the normal turn sequence. For example, the Fire Overwatch stratagem enables a unit to shoot out in the opponent's turn as if it were your shooting phase. When using out-of-phase rules to perform an action as if it were one of your phases, you cannot use any other rules that are normally triggered in that phase. Wild. That also means you cannot use stratagems that are used in your shooting phase. Yeah. There's got to be some, like, weirdness in there, right? Is there anything that's, like, you reroll, like, hit rolls of 1 in your shooting phase or whatever? So, like, I'm just in the Chaos Space Marine index already, right? I guess it makes sense that you don't get, like, the 5-up critical hit, right? I wonder if there's a selected to shoot or fight ruling in here. Maybe. Let's see what we find. I can't use any stratagems. Okay, this is mostly stuff that just triggers in your shooting phase. Yeah, I think that kind of just makes sense. Oh, so like the Noise Marines do not force battle shock checks on Overwatch, for example. I think that is just sort of like, all right, I'm with it. But that's just like how it should have been, but it was never spelled out in the rulebook. Persistent effects. Some effects apply an effect that lasts until a certain duration has passed. If a persistent effect applies to a unit that embarks on a transport, persisting effects continue to apply for their full duration. So if you embark and then disembark and you have something that hasn't expired yet, it still happens. If a persisting effect applies to an attached unit, and that unit ceases to be attached because its bodyguard or leader is destroyed, persisting effects continue to apply to the surviving unit. Yeah, it's not a U unit. It's just an extension of the old unit. Priority rules. Attacker's priority. The attacker gets to pick that their abilities work before the defending abilities. In setting up reinforcement units, you find that 2 roles cannot both apply. For example, a unit arriving using the Deep Strike ability, but an enemy unit has a role that prevents enemy reinforcements, setting up within 12. In such cases, rules limiting the placement of reinforcement units take priority over the rules that state where reinforcement units can be placed. So that is the same as in 9th edition. Any attack made with a weapon that has the psychic ability is a psychic attack. Any mortal wounds inflicted by an ability that has the psychic tag are also psychic attacks. So, are there librarians that can perils? I'm sure there are, right? That have psychic hoods and can perils off their ability. So they will get their psychic hood save against their own mortal wounds. Here's the question, though. Does that apply to hazardous? It doesn't appear that it does. If you overcharge your psychic weapon and suffer mortal wounds as a result, can you save against the mortal wounds? And it doesn't look like it does, because only psychic abilities are considered attacks in addition. Love some rulebook contradiction here too. Weapons with the psychic in their profile are psychic weapons. Abilities are psychic abilities. Generally speaking, psychic weapons abilities are used by psychers, but the absence of the psychic keyword does not prevent a model from using psychic weapons or abilities it has. Straight contradiction to what the rulebook says, which is good, because they definitely put that in accidentally and then didn't really think about it. Technically, Flamers, according to the main rulebook, could not select their ranged attack as a ranged attack they could use because Flamers had a psychic ranged attack, but they were not themselves psychers, which is very stupid. I'm glad that they've just nipped that in the bud. No discussion anymore. It's in the real rules document. Some rules enable you to redeploy one or more of your units. When doing so, you remove these units from the battlefield after both players have finish deploying their armies, but before the first turn begins, and deploy them again using all the normal rules. If both players have rules that let them redeploy units, the players alternate starting with the attacker. That rule does not help. Holy crap. That answers exactly 0 of the questions that we had. Of course it happens before the first turn begins, but the question is, does it happen before or after the roll to go first? If they happen before the roll to go first, redeploy abilities are worthless garbage. If they happen after the roll to go first, that's important. But when they redeploy them using the normal rules, if they have the Infiltrator's ability, which is very distinctly not the normal deployment rules, do they use it again? Maybe there's another clarification, but I don't know if there will be, because we're kind of towards the end of the document. Some rules can resurrect or return models to a unit. Such models are added to their unit along with any wargear enhancements they start of the battle. But such rules can never expand unit balance starting strength, of course. If such a rule returns models to a unit in the same phase they were destroyed, for the purposes of allocating attacks later in the same phase, such models do not count as having lost any wounds. If a leader model is destroyed and returned, and the bodyguard unit they were attached to still on the battlefield, they must be returned to form an attached unit again. So if you like resurrect a Necron model, it doesn't tell you where to place them though. There's some weirdness with the like how the sequencing of replacement models works and whether or not you can chain them in a line. And that's kind of unclear. Why is the spit in the psychic not in the rulebook? Because they put it in accidentally. They for sure were like, oh, you know what we should do? We should psychic keyword all of the demon weapons because that would be cool and fluffy. And then literally didn't realize, forgot that they had put that clause in the psychic check part for sure. About the flying rules where aircraft ignore that measurement, no. They will still have to move with that measurement for sure, 100%. You can res unit leaders. You can res leader characters with the Necron stratagem. Anything on minimum damage 1? Yeah, damage characteristics cannot be reduced below 1. That is in there. Ruins invisibility. Ooh, there's a diagram. A model not within ruins. The vehicle cannot see the infantry unit. Okay. The infantry unit is totally within the ruins, so it can be seen and see out normally. The vehicle can see the infantry unit, and this unit can see the vehicle. Yep. Oh, are we getting the clarification that you have to be wholly within the ruin terrain? Oh, this rule is so fucking toxic, and I hate it. Oh my god. So the vehicle can see Unit B because they're wholly within the ruins. It's a little confusing because it implies that the unit has to be wholly within, but in fact it is only model. That is correct, right? It's not like randomly, like if you have one idiot who can't make it in, you can't see through the terrain. That wouldn't make sense. Yeah, models. So that's wild. So it's, yeah, a little confusing, but it is what it is. So the vehicle can be seen inside because it's within terrain, and you can see into any portion of a ruin terrain feature, but it cannot see through the opposite edge of the ruin because it's not wholly within it. It's a terrible rule. I hate it, but that is what the rulebook says, and I'm glad they just stuck with it. They were like, whatever, dude. We're just locking it in. Whatever. Set up on the battlefield. Must be placed in unit coherency. If for any reason a model cannot be set up on the battlefield when instructed to do so, it's destroyed. Shoot on death, blah, blah, blah. Shoot again. I don't think there's anything particularly exciting there. When all of the attacks made with a ranged weapon have been resolved, that weapon has been shot. Okay, so just it treats it as resolved attacks. Whenever an ability triggers as a result of a condition being met, like Blast, the condition triggering that ability is checked at the time the target has been selected. So that's good to know. Same for every ability. There's never a question of whether or not, like, oh, I shot you below some number, so you suddenly turn on some sort of ability. Unit champions still exist. Interesting. This refers to a differently named model in some units that represent their thematic leader. Ooh, great. Throw a theme in there. Visibility, Warlord. Oh, leading a unit. This is kind of important. These rules apply when a model is part of a unit with the attached unit. Otherwise, they have no effect. So a model with such a rule as part of an attached unit will also benefit from its own rule. If an attached unit contains more than one model with such a rule, both models are considered to be leading the attached unit, and so all such rules apply. Such rules cease to apply if that unit ceases to be attached. So if their bodyguard is destroyed, yeah. So, kind of weird that they didn't say, like, you know, they don't say, like, while this, you know, character is attached to a unit, that unit X. Leading a unit is a weird terminology to use, but at least they clarify it here. Within and wholly within. Modifiers. If a rule instructs you to change or replace one characteristic with a new specified value, change the relevant characteristic to the new value before applying any modifiers that apply from other rules to the new value. You must then apply division before applying multiplication, before applying addition and then subtraction, then round up any fractions. So have OC abilities are kind of garbage because they can never reduce OC below 0. Because you would reduce them, even an OC1, or below 1, excuse me. Because even an OC1, oh yeah, they have the example right here. Would reduce to OC 0.5 and then round up. An intercessor unit becomes battle shocked, changing the OC characteristic of models to 0. This happens before the chitinous horrors and Astartes battered modifiers are applied, meaning the final modified OC of each intercessor model in that unit is 1. There's 0, then plus 1, or then halved to still 0, then plus 1. Even, yeah, however you wanted to apply that would be the same. Leadership characteristics can never be modified to 4+ or better. Can never be modified to 4+. Really? There are models with 4+ leadership. What? That's weird. So if you're a... So Greyfax has an unattainable leadership characteristic? She's just the best leadership characteristic in the game, and no one without a base 4+ leadership can ever get to that point? That's weird. That's super bizarre. Armor penetration and objective control can never be worse than 0. Move and range characteristics can never be less than 1. If an ability modifies the damage characteristic of a weapon, and that weapon can inflict mortal wounds in addition to the normal damage, the modifier does not apply to any mortal wounds that are inflicted. Hey! So devastating wounds is not affected by damage reduction effects. Good to know. The strength, toughness, attacks, and damage characteristics can never be modified below 1 unless you have an effect that changes the damage characteristic to 0. So like an Impossible Robe style of effect. And then there's a thing about improving or worsening, so that's all good. Modifying a stratagem's cost. If a rule modifies the CP cost of a stratagem when you use it, but does not specify the duration of that modifier, it only applies to that usage of a stratagem. Okay. Now, here's the thing. So there was a discussion previously. Oh, this modifiers affect everything. So the way Agents of Vect and Rites of Battle work, which is an open question previously, is that Agents of Vect effects, which increase the numerical value of a stratagem, would happen after replacement effects that like allow you to use a stratagem at cost 0. So Rites of Battle, which lets you use a stratagem for 0 CP, would change the cost of the stratagem to 0, then apply the addition modifier, and they would end up spending 1 CP. Which is good to know. Oh, what? Just kidding. What is this garbage? Are you serious? So the rules like contradict themselves in the same document. Okay, so what am I talking about here? So there's just a rule that affected the amount of mortal wounds dealt, right? The ability modifies the damage characteristics of the weapon, and that weapon inflicts mortal wounds. Oh, in addition to normal damage. Okay, and not instead of normal damage. So devastating. I misspoke earlier because I didn't read this section. So devastating wounds does actually modify the amount, or it is actually modified by damage reduction effects. That's weird. Now, is devastating wounds and precision ever discussed? Devastating wounds and precision see mortal wounds. If an attack with the precision ability can be allocated to a character model leading an attached unit, that can be allocated to a character model leading an attached unit. If an attack with a precision ability that can be allocated to a character model leading an attached unit can inflict mortal wounds to a target, the mortal wounds in the inflicted by the attack are also allocated to the character model first. Okay, well, that's how everyone assumed the ability would work, but that's rules as written is straight up definitely not how it happened. Can damage be reduced to 0 on non-mortals? No, unless you have unless it's replaced by 0. There are people trying to defend the fact that this is just a commentary and isn't core rules. Like, they're saying this doesn't count. Yeah, all right, man. They're like, oh, I'm not going to follow that rule. It's only in the designer's notes. It's not real rules. Get straight out of town, my guy. No. Does the Tyrannifex shrug damage 1? No, we just talked about that. It does not. It still eats the 1 damage. All right. I'm going to go through the notes that I have. Terrain Inuits that can see through them but can't be seen. I'm going to do a strike through on my notes. because they covered that. So good on them. All right. Does Ruin line of sight blocking effect provide cover? So let's see Ruin. Ruin's invisibility. Oh, I don't know if we're gonna get there, chat. No, they didn't talk about that. So ruins can theoretically block true line of sight, but the core rules imply that it's only for determining whether or not a unit can be seen, but not actually like physically blocks a line of sight that travels over it. But it is unknown. Precision and mortal wounds has been talked about. Starting strength. So one thing about starting strength is that it checks your unit size during list construction. So if your starting strength changes before the beginning of the game, it actually, you can begin the game below your starting strength, essentially. Yeah, so this is the dangerous part. A unit starting strength is the number of models in it at the point that it is added to your army. But some effects allow you to split a unit into multiple, meaning that you can have a unit of 10 models that has been reduced to 2 units of 5 models. So both of them would check a starting strength of 10. So if they lose 1 model, they would technically be below half. But I don't think that's the intention. It should just check that at the start of the game after the transport step. Characteristic modifiers are covered. Psychers are covered. Eligibility to shoot. That's fucked right now. What do we got? Eligible target. Eligible to shoot. Unless a unit advanced or fell back this turn or is locked in combat, is eligible to shoot, even if no models are equipped with ranged weapons. This means that such units can be selected for any rules that require you to select a unit that is eligible to shoot. Uh-oh, chat. Yeah, so the issue with the ranged attack or shooting eligibility rules is that you do not become ineligible to shoot if you have been selected to shoot already. So if you, for example, want to perform an action that happens anytime during the shooting phase, you can just shoot your guns, and then because you're still eligible to shoot, you can just do the thing. You can only be selected to shoot once per phase, but it doesn't stop you from being eligible, which is really stupid. The problem is that they defined eligible to shoot as not having advanced fallback or being in combat. And they didn't say that you lose eligibility once you shoot. So that's super duper fucked. What else do we have? How about disembarking from transports with a large base? Arising from as reinforcements from strategic reserve. When a reinforcement or strategic reserve unit is set up on the battlefield, other when disembarking it from a transport, it is said to have it being arrived from strategic reserve. Disembarking large models. It's here. Well, partially. I don't think they still don't think they say when you're actually supposed to disembark in the movement phase, but who knows? When a unit disembarks from a transport, it must be set up wholly within 3 inches of that model. If a disembarking model is so large, it is not possible to set it up wholly within 3. That model is set up at its base within 1. Cool. Done. We can deploy our Screamer Killers out of a Tyrannocyte now. And you can actually put Redemptor Dreadnoughts into Storm Raven gunship. Problematically, the movement rules still don't tell you when you disembark from a transport. So that's not great. Yeah, I agree that the shooting eligibility thing needs to just get house ruled because it's really stupid. Um, but that is just how the rules are written currently. That's like just rules as written. You can be eligible to you're eligible to shoot at any time during the shooting phase as long as you did in advance. But I don't know anyone who's not going to house rule it. That once you have made your ranged attacks, you're no longer eligible to shoot. The big question it popped up with though was Tau, because you could potentially guide another unit multiple times because you're just constantly eligible to shoot, so you're just like continue to be selected as a guiding target, which is pretty stupid. But you should not be able to do that. I agree. How are Necrons, Tyranids, and Orks doing in addition? Necrons and Orks look great. Tyranids, we haven't looked at the points yet. That's the next thing in the live stream. But Tyranids, based on their data sheets alone, are unplayable garbage. Assault weapons don't let you use actions. They should. Ooh. They don't even cover assault weapons at all. Yeah, I think if maybe we need another look at the eligibility rules here for the design team, because having an assault weapon does make you eligible to shoot. That's the core rulebook does say that. So you are still eligible to perform actions if you have an assault weapon for sure, 100%. You never disembark. I mean, that is the implication that you cannot. Once you embark on a transport, you cannot leave the transport. They never. Yeah, it's the disembark rules are in the movement phase, but the question is that it doesn't tell you what step in the movement phase you're allowed to do it in. So the open question is whether you're allowed to deep strike a transport and then disembark the occupied models. It's totally not even covered at all. Not even covered. Are models without guns still eligible to shoot? Yeah, that's actually the purpose of this entry. As long as you haven't advanced fallback or locked in combat. Can you disembark a transport from reserves? No one has any idea. That's the problem. Yeah, Catharsis Chaser could literally have made an action like a keyword like in 9th. Yeah, I agree. They should have, but they forgot. So it is what it is. Models arrive from deep strike at the end portion of the movement phase, which is after the main portion. Not entirely. Well, that is correct. However, the only phase that specifies so disembarking is not movement, right? So you're not being selected to move. So it doesn't happen during the move step section of the movement phase. The only phase that specifies that abilities have to resolve in a particular step is the command phase. So things that happen generically during the command phase must happen during your command step. The same is not true for movement. Movement doesn't have that clause. So things that happen during your movement phase can happen either in the movement step or in the reinforcement step. You can only select units to move in the movement step. That's what happens during that step. But disembarking a transport is not a movement selection, which is the problem. And it's never actually discussed. It does. There is literally no rule that specifies it happens during the movement section of the moon phase. If you can point to if you could point that rule to me, then I would greatly appreciate it. But to my knowledge, it does not. It does not. That's in nowhere is that specified. You can disembark before moving a vehicle, but you can also disembark after moving a vehicle. And reinforcing is considered a movement. So I don't know. You tell me. A model that reinforces is considered to have moved its full movement distance in that movement phase, and you can disembark after a transport has moved its full movement distance. So, but anyway, if someone can point to me of a specific rule that tells you when you disembark from a transport, I would appreciate that. But just assuming that it's supposed to be during the movement section is incorrect. I think that the intention is supposed to be during the movement section, and if I were to generate a house rule for it right now, that's what I would say, because I don't think the intention is that you're allowed to deep strike transports and then immediately disembark from them, but it's not ever specified. So I don't know. Anyway, let's do points. It's points time. I'm excited. Does the drop pod have any special disembark rules? I don't believe so. I think it just says that the unit embarked immediately disembarks, but we can look. Any units embarked with the transport must immediately disembark. That's it. That's all it says. But that's an ability, so it overrides core rules. So you can't like read into that too much, right? You know, who knows? Anyway, let's stop talking about stuff that will hopefully get fixed in a not too distant future. So what I want to do first is I think I actually want to look at Space Marines first, because I think we have like the best idea of what Space Marines do, and I feel like that's a pretty good baseline. All right. So the first thing the first thing that I have noticed is that models no longer have points values. What is this? What is this document? So a datasheet specifies a range of values that a unit can be composed of. But I guess you can only take the minimum or the maximum. There's no difference in between. Is there a commentary section to this? Maybe a little bit. You can use this document to determine points values. This may change with the addition of each entry lists the increments a unit size, and increments to a unit size that incur different points costs. This may change with the addition of each individual model, or it may be presented with a lower and upper limit to the unit's starting strength. In the latter case, your units can contain a number of models in between these limits, but you still must pay the maximum points cost for the unit that starts the game with more than its number of models. So, like, you could play 6 Tactical Marines, but you're paying for the full 10, my guy. Get wrecked. I mean, that makes list construction easier, but I do not like it, because I think it also reduces almost all of the... I mean, you just axe every like bit of points adjustment. To my knowledge, chat, there's community articles not out by when I started streaming. We got these from the download section. Incredible. All right. Anyway, I don't super love that. I think you just get like, it just makes all the points value super chunky and annoying. But whatever. So let's dive in. Oh, these are alphabetically oriented. That's a little bit annoying. Let's see. So moving down the list, looks like Assault Intercessors, 90 points for 5, so 18 points a model. Jump Pack Assault Marines, 23 points a model. Servitors, I guess you have your heavy weapons built in, so they actually are like a pretty good assignment of heavy weapons, right? You can take like 4 whatever multi-melta servitors for 55 points. Is that good? Like they're like, what was that? Like 16 points a model or something? No, not quite. 14 points a model. That might be okay, right? A 14-point Meltagun with which was stapled to a tech marine that gives it +1 to hit. It's actually like kind of sweet, right? It's points, but it's power level, but it's not its points. Almost exactly, Jet, for sure. I mean, the problem with power level was that it was so degranularized that like you had 2 models that could like have the exact same power level and be wildly different in actual power on the table. But the I mean, points allow them to adjust things in like a much more reasonable manner. So I mean, I'm glad that they're points for sure. All right. Blade Guard veterans like 33. It kind of feels like most of these have not changed. Characters are down largely because they're War Gears free. Centurion Assault is, what is that? 60, 50 something? 57 points a model? 58? 58 points a model. So the real question is like the big fuck off gun stuff.
Spent 45 minutes crunching numbers for my demons and I can only get 1940 at best. Hope they're okay with armies tons of points below the 2k mark.
Yeah, that's wild. Enhancements they mentioned would be they mentioned as like the intention of enhancements was to be the points filler. So if you had extra, you would just buy additional enhancements. But that requires that you A, have the characters to assign to the enhancements, and B, haven't already paid for the enhancements. So yeah, I agree. I think there is a potential problem that you just end up with, especially like the armies that are built around like huge units of stuff, especially demons, right? Because demons is like windmill slam 5 greater demons, fill to taste. Like, I could see demons have a real problem with underpaying points. I wish it would allow you to like buy like purchase command points or something for like 30 points or something like that. That'd be kind of sweet. Let's see. Is my sounds like my microphone might be quiet, chat. I'll turn it up a little bit. I think I had been switching between microphones because I was recording, and I might have forgotten to change it. Hopefully that sounds a little bit better. Inceptors are, what is that? 30, 40 points, 40, 38 points a model. And the interesting thing is that like these don't break down evenly per model, which actually is kind of sweet. You actually have like models are worth sort of fractions of a point, which is kind of okay. But what am I looking for? I'm looking for Vindicators, which begins with B, so it should be towards the end. Vindicator is 205. This Vanguard Veteran Squad, 10 Vanguard Veterans, 260. Get fucked. Vindicator is 205, which is quite a lot. How much is a Storm Speeder's 160? So this went up a little bit, right? Predators are 130, my guy. Oh my god, and that is with all of their sponsons included. Woof. That's pretty freaking good. Holy crap. Terminators are like 40 to 41. That's a lot. Gladiator Lancers 145. That is cheap as for that unit. Yeah, so like we'll compare like what's a Devastator squad? A B C D Devastator squad is 120. So we compare a 120 point Devastator squad of like 4+ ballistic scale idiots who like die immediately to if you pay 25 extra points, you get a Lancer that has like 72-inch range and is invincible. I guess it's like a Devastator squad. Like you can buy it. It's like a one-shot wonder, and they're kind of cheap. That's actually kind of extremely cheap for Devastator squad. The more I think about it. But these tanks seem super undercosted for how hard they are to kill. A hunter is 100 points. Okay. A hunter is less than 5 heavy intercessors. Invader ATV is still 80. What is this in comparison? It doesn't make any sense. Invader Tactical Wizards are still 160. It's a little bit funky. Ironclad Dreadnoughts are 150. A lot of these points values have not changed. Land Raiders 275. What the heck? The comparison between a Land Raider and a similar unit is a lot. Land Raiders are cheap with the free Melta. Well, they went up from the last edition, but I mean, I guess comparatively, like they became more powerful, right? So like the fact that they became more powerful and didn't go up points kind of means that they're like the same.
Can't wait for you to go through the Dari points here.
Yeah. Tactical squads can only be taken in units of 10. Is that for real? They're also 5 points more than an intercessor squad. I guess they get heavy weapons though, right? I didn't even notice that about tactical squads. I just assumed that those guys. Oh no! Everybody joins them. They're gonna be so. Okay, here we are. Oh yeah, only 10 models for a tactical squad, and there's no longer a combat squad for them. Oh, tactical marines! No, not like this. Oh, not like this. I did not even comprehend that. That's wild. They get like a heavy weapon and a special weapon, but that's probably not worth taking 2 units of intercessors. Robo Booty Ghoulie Man is 355, which is a deal for that guy. He has a bunch of rules. So far, we're seeing basically like Space Marines kind of just got side graded on points, right? Like the vehicles went up a little bit.
So do this mean all war gear is free?
This do mean that all war gear is free. I don't know what that TTS emphasis was on the war gear, but yeah, that is what that means. Thank you for the super chats, by the way, everybody. Thomas, Z Ramirez, and Drew. Thank you, guys. Sergeant Cronus is 75. That's too many points, Sergeant Cronus. You gotta be a little bit less expensive. How many points are Sniper Scouts? 75 for a unit. Oh my god. They're cheaper than Intercessors. Are you kidding me? Who decided that a Sniper Scout Squad... You create the datasheet for a Sniper Scout Squad, which is the perfect datasheet. It's like infiltrates, has a sick gun, can't be targeted by enemy attacks. It's like invincible and shoots all game. And you're like, alright, 75 points. Now let's make the regular Scout Squad, which is like inferior in every way, doesn't shoot good, able to be targeted. They're like, you know what? 5 less points. But we give it 6-inch pregame. Like, okay. Okay, my guy. Stalkers are 140 for some reason. So what we're getting at for Space Marines is that for the most part, it seems like most of their points values have largely stayed the same. Vehicles are up a little bit and characters are down a little bit. But otherwise, I think they're largely identical. Oh, land speeders are expensive as fuck, actually. Well, that's good, because they have insane support abilities now, so that's awesome. So they probably go up in points, I think. Well, they don't have to pay for melted guns anymore, so maybe not. Or for multi-meltas. So I think like a Space Marine army, it feels like it's mostly going to stay the same. Is that a fair comparison? They're just going to pay extra for their vehicles and less for their characters. And scepters are the same cost for bolters and plasma. Yeah, theoretically the bolters shoot more times, but the plasma's just way better. You're bringing them for the cool 3 damage gun for sure. And the bolter's at least 2 damage now, which is always kind of weird that it wasn't, but you definitely want to take the plasma on those guys. Eradicators dropped by 40. They're now 30. They're like 30, what, 33 points a model? 32 points a model? What were they previously? Oh, Wahapedia is still on bright mode. What am I doing with my life? They were 40.5, right? But to be fair, they lost their double tap, and they got like a far inferior ability. Yeah, they were 45. So I actually think that's like pretty fair. In some instances, the side grade makes a lot of sense. Their relative strength went down. Their ability is just Oaths of Moment with extra steps, which is just your faction ability, and they shoot half as many times. So Eradicators did get like kind of enormously dumpstered. How much are aggressors? Oh, they're expensive. They're kind of expensive now, right? 30, like the equivalent of like 35-ish, 36. Desolators. Oh my god, yeah, Desolators are ridiculously
Wolf Scouts
cheap.
are 80 points now and still only 1 wound and is just worse in every way. Also Wolfen only 100 points for 5 and they're still a trash fire.
Peaches, thanks to the super chat.
Wraithguard and Blades are 31 and 34 ppm LMO.
Yeah, it feels like there's like it seems like there's an archetype of an infantry model with like a medium range anti-tank gun. They just want to cost at between 30 and 40, right? And like that's exactly where the Eradicator is. I think we're talking about it. The Zoanthropes are 30 points. It's like exactly the same unit. That's exactly what Wraithguard are.
Devastator Squad has a discount between 5 and 10.
Yeah, they're only 80 points for the extra 5, so there's 16 points for the Bolter guys. But that's because those guys don't get heavy weapons. So you basically pay 20 points for the heavy weapons. An extra 20, or yeah. An extra 40 points for the heavy weapons over a 16-point Tactical Marine guy. Which just makes sense for sure. Yeah, the Desolation Squad feels like a mistake, though. That's... boy. Oh boy. You just windmill slam 30 of those guys, right? Like, it's just what you do. You're just like, here we are. I'm going to put Oaths of Moment on your vehicle, even though I can't see it, and I'm going to shoot it literally 90 times. And it's going to be dead at the end of all that shooting, because I'm going to reroll all my hit rolls and all my wound rolls. And I'm going to Storm of Fire, so I ignore cover. And I get AP1. And some other stuff happens. Maybe there's a Bolter Drill. We get sustained hits. Yeah. What about bike squads? How much are bike squads? With a attack bike, they're 135. The chap on a bike is 80. So for 160, you can get like the sweet triple grav gun bike squad, which is kind of sweet. And then Redemptors was the other model we were talking about. Pulsar is 195, Pulsar Executioner 230. I am at least glad that the Vindicator seems like kind of expensive, because the Vindicator does look super dumb right now. Where is the R for Redemptor? Oh, there he is. 225. Yeah, that makes sense. How about Ballistus and Brutalis? Ballistus is 170. Brutalis is also 220? That's a lot. They really wanted to push the Ballistus. Although, to be fair, I think it is like the least inspiring out of all of the Redemptor Dreadnought chassis. So it's good that there's some stuff that I think the stuff that people outside Devastator Squad or Desolation Squads, excuse me, which are ludicrously undercosted. I think it seems like some of the stuff that they picked up on people were immediately going to play. They did upcharge a little bit. Lancers seem too cheap. A couple of the other things seem too cheap. And I think I would have expected more points hikes across the board, but otherwise it seems like kind of side grade. Also, just to swing back a little bit to Peach's super chat, Wolf Scouts being 80 points and only 1 wound. Yeah, I think that there needs to be another look at the Space Wolves Index, because there's like tons of mistakes in it. And I have a sneaking suspicion that Wolfen are one of them, because the Wolfen hammer and their claw profiles are identical, and I feel like it's a copy paste error, because I don't think their hammer should be the same. All right, now we're gonna look at Space Marines. So now we're gonna look at Tyranids. We looked at Space Marines. We have established a baseline. Let's look at Tyranids. Neurogons are awkwardly 11 models as a unit. It's weird. All right, let's see. Carnifexes, 250. They're 125 points a model. And Old One Eye is 140. So they're significantly more expensive than the league said. That unit is a lot for 390. Exocrines are super cheap, though. That's good. 135. Death Leaper at 80. Pyrovore's at 30. That's not great, honestly. Gene Stealer's at 18. Harpies at 120, 170. Haruspex is 125. Is that good? Ooh, that might be good. Is it? What? The Psycho Phage is the same amount as a Haruspex? Hold up. Who wrote these? Wait. Why is the Hive Crone the more expensive of the two between the Harpy? What are these points values? Lictor's got a hike. Moloch at 145. Nero Tyrant at 105 is actually less than I was expecting for them, so that's actually kind of nice. Yeah, Haruspex is the same as a Carnifex, chat. That's nuts. I think people were wondering if a Haruspex is worth it at 150. At 125, I think you just T11 spam your opponent and hope they can't deal with it. Swarmlord went up for some reason. That doesn't make sense. Trigon 180? Oh, God. Tyranid Warriors are 30 points. Ooh. Tyrannifex at 200. Winged Hive Tyrant at 195. That profile is unplayable anyway, so it's fine. Regular Hive Tyrant at 220? How much are Tyrant Guard? Are they at least 1 point per model? 95 for 3? And you can't even take a multiple. You're either 3 or 6? Oh, no. Well, Venom Thorps are cheap as fuck. 75. This is wildly inconsistent. Some of this stuff is ludicrously overcosted, right? I feel like a Trigon is an extremely good unit just because of Rapid Ingress, but I don't know if I would ever pay a 180 for it. That's a Toxicrit is 200 points? What are you fucking smoking? Look at the Toxicrit datasheet next to the Vindicator datasheet and then tells me this is the same unit. That's so stupid. Termagant's at 6 points a model. Termagant at like 200. But then also, like, this Harspex is like T11's like 14 wound.
Best builds
thing.
of the Gladiator and Repulsor, please.
Best build of the Gladiator, I think, is the Lancer. Repulsor is, like, whether it's Executioner versus the other one, the regular Repulsor. I think you maybe just play the regular Repulsor for the transport capacity. But I don't know if I like either of them. I think I like the regular Repulsor. The Executioner is just like the Lancer gun with extra steps, but it costs twice as much as a Lancer. You just played like 2 Lancers for a couple more, for like 50 more points than you'd play an Executioner. Because it doesn't have its built-in rerolls, like it's more single target. It has more like anti-infantry shooting, but I don't think that matters. So I would just play a normal. If you're gonna play a Repulsor, I would play a normal one. But I don't know if I love the Repulsor profile, to be fair. So let's build a list real quick, chat. Oh yeah, where's Zoanthropes at? 90. So I think, like, unironically, I think you just windmill slam 30 Zoanthropes or 18 Zoanthropes in your list. I think that's like the only way you have to reasonably kill armor. Swarmlord at 250 and Hive Tyrant at 220 is like an insult. Those models are so bad. The leaks indicated that Hive Tyrants would be 180 and Swarmlord would be 200. Like, I don't... Like, maybe you play Swarmlord, but he's so fucking slow, and he's so slow and shitty. I don't think you can afford a Tyrant at 220. Even though it lets you adaptive biology multiple times. Ugh.
Peak at night Sol.
Why is the Winged Tyrant cheaper than the regular one? Because the regular one can join Tyrant Guard, I imagine. The Winged Tyrant's like fucking awful. Oh, the regular one gets a gun as well. Or more melee attacks. The regular one's just better at fighting altogether. Is not like significantly slower. And has a more easily applicable psychic aura. The regular one's just better, honestly. Confused why Tyranid warriors with guns are cheaper than the melee ones? Because their guns are ballistic skill 4. The melee ones are the only Tyranid warriors I would consider playing for sure. Is 70 points good for them? For sure not, but... How many points are Raveners? 25? When they kill people, they go into a strategic reserve. It's kind of sweet, right? And then you could, like, hold and rapid ingress them or something. Exocrine at 135 is actually kind of sweet, too. That gun's really terrible, but, like, it's very cheap. And also, you can use it to buff your Zoanthropes. Is there a list here somewhere? Do you like... Alright, here's the list. It's 18 Zoanthropes for 540 points. We're there. You take 3 Harspecs for 375. You take Venomthropes to give -1 to hit to the Zoanthropes for 70. 70 points for them is legitimately good, because that unit's really bad. But the defensive aura is very strong. And then you take... you don't really need a Neuro Tyrant, because you have, like, hundreds of Synapse models. Like, every character in this faction is fucking trash. Like, what character model would you want to take? I don't see any. You kind of want Swarmlord just so you have command points, but at 250, Swarmlord, like, doesn't do anything. He gets killed on Overwatch because he has no wounds. And you're not paying 350 for him and 3 Tyrant Guard. There's no fucking way. So, like... Do you just play with no characters? Like, leave all the enhancements at home? It's only the Zoanthrope show. But that's, like, a lot of beef for basically nothing. You take 1 Exocrine, probably, to be... He's 135, just to buff the Zoanthropes. And you take, like, 3 Pyrovores. Maybe 2. So if somebody pushes the middle, you can get rid of cover on them. And then you take what? You just like fill the rest with Tyrannofexes, I guess. What are we at right now? 540 plus 510 is 1050 plus 130. Is 1180, so there's like 800 points left. Biovores can score you all of your secondaries, so you take 3 Biovores. So then you don't worry about secondaries ever. So then we have 600 and some odd points left. It could just be 3 Tyrannofexes. Maybe old One Eyes team, chat? Screamer Killer 180? Fucking garbage, dude. Are you serious? 180 for that thing? I wouldn't pay a cent over 110, maybe. For an AP2 melee attack? Miss me with that, thank you. The new Screamer Killer profile is laughably terrible. The entire field manual reads like 10 people playtest it and assign points based on their experience with a few units in the army, and none of the playtesters talk to each other. That, I mean, might literally be the case for sure. Anti-infantry 2 plus at range and melee for the Toxicran. Yeah, but who cares? Like, just take a unit with a high base strength value. You don't need anti-infantry. Like, unless it has devastating wounds, it doesn't matter. You're like, oh, I'm anti-infantry 2+. And like this idiot Zoanthropes over here. Like, yeah, I shoot anti-infantry 2+, because my gun is like strength 12. Why do I need an anti-infantry melee attack? 18 Von Ryan Sleepers? Maybe? Are the Von Ryan Sleepers, are they good? They infiltrate, but they're slow. Like, at that point, you might as well just take Gene Stealers or whatever, right? Like, I guess the Von Ryan Sleepers fight first. I don't know, man. Kind of expected Leapers to be 30 to 35. 70 for 3 is good. Well, 75, right? They're 150. They're 25 apiece. That is good. Like, that is a good points value. It might be fine. What does the Winged Prime get? Gets thrown in the garbage because it's terrible. Death Leaper because the new model is awesome? Yeah, maybe. Are Exocrine Horror specs the same kit? They are. Yeah, I would begin the conspiracy theorizing if Exocrines weren't, like, if they didn't make Exocrines hot garbage. 135 is legitimately an appropriate points value for the Exocrine, because the Exocrine's profile is very bad. Death Leaper and Old One Eye are the good characters? Yeah, maybe. How do I feel about the 145-point Moloch? I feel like it's gonna remain 145 points on my shelf because it's not a very good unit. I think people get really excited about the Moloch's like aura, but the issue is that it doesn't close deep strike, so you get like 2 units in its aura, and you're like, take 4 mortal wounds, and then they shoot it to death, and you're like, oh cool, that was fun. I had a great time with this Moloch. Thanks everyone. Love that. This does feel like a list, though, chat. Like, this, this is legitimately a lot. There's a lot going on here. Maybe you are just like all in on Von Ryan Sleepers. I actually no, I don't think I'm in on the Von Ryan Sleepers, honestly. They're like AP1 in melee. They don't like punch anything good. So I think I'm out on them. All right, let me calculator up just to make sure I have my points right. Forgot how to spell a calculator for a sec. So we're 540. Assuming this shows up in the thing. Nope, I hid my own list. There you go. 375 plus 205 plus 180. It's 1300 even. So we could rock like you could rock the old One-Eye Carnifex Brood. I almost I like the idea of old One-Eye's unit, but I don't think it's survivable enough. Maybe it's like it's just not, I don't know, it's not survivable enough and it's not fast enough. It just dies immediately. And for 400, you're like you want to get old One-Eye into melee, but you want him to have one Carnifex remaining, and I don't think that he's going to quite be able to do that, to be perfectly honest. So I'm not 100% sure you do that. The Genestealer and Broodlord combo is actually good. Is it, though? Like, how do you make melee with it? It's an 8-inch move, no threat range enhancements, and at a T4, like the most indirect fireable profile in the entire game. Every indirect fire weapon basically one-shots that unit. Barb Gun's not... I'm not going to play Barb Guns. Barb Guns for 10 points of mono, they don't do any damage. Strength 5 AP 0 hitting on 4s is like... Whatever. Whatever. Is the character pressing due to having to take a warlord? Except that other characters got points cuts. It doesn't make sense that Tyranids points characters went up. Because they also, like, literally... their damage output was reduced by like 3 times. It definitely lictors feel okay. I do love lictors. You want the one exocrine so that you can make the Zoanthropes reroll their hit rolls. That's at 135. It's just a buff to the Zoanthropes. Because there's like your opponent's gonna rock like a big T11 vehicle or something, and you can just tag it with the exocrine, and you get yourself like a pretty. The exocrine probably converts like 1 hit on it. You do a little bit of damage, and then one Zoanthrope unit actually converts its hits pretty well. Let's look at the Barb God data sheet. Turns out there's a lot of things called Barb. So the issue is like they're non-indirect fire for the Barb Gaunt, right? So they unlike Earthshaker carriages, or unlike Earthshaker batteries, they can't hit infantry before the infantry has already committed. And they only affect infantry, which is like the least relevant unit keyword in the game right now. So, like, I don't quite understand what the purpose of a Barb Gaunt is. They don't kill anyone. They don't meaningfully debuff anyone. If they could give you -2 to advance and charge rolls to anything they shot at, sure. But if it's only infantry, most of the infantry in the game is either dead to 100 warp blasts, behind a wall, or in a transport. And you can't hit any of those before it gets to you. So you're just like, well, guess I'll die. Or it's lone operative and you can't shoot it anyway. So I don't think Barb Gaunts are actually useful. I do, yeah. The Tyranocytes might be able to do it. 3 lictors and Death Leaper. I think I'm like souring on the triple lictor, honestly, chat. Because the lictors, I thought lictors were like the great, like God's gift to mankind. But the problem is that they're very good against intercessor profiles. But if you're in a situation where no one ever plays an intercessor because the intercessors are terrible, like a lictor is just like, just a real bad dude. They're just not very good at fighting. They're like probably fine, but I think they're like a 0-1. Death Leaper is just like in there for the -1 leadership aura, right? You get CP when they destroy character models. Maybe you just take like a, maybe you still take the Foot Hive Tyrant just to broadcast the free stratagem aura. It's sad because I'd rather have Swarm Lord, but at least that gets you 2 adaptive biologies every turn. I'm sleeping on the Psychophage. I mean, a 6+ damage ignore is fine, but you get a 5+ damage ignore from a stratagem, and it's a model that doesn't do any damage to your opponent's army. So you pay 125 points to like get a really awkward 6+ damage ignore that's like very difficult to use. What do I think about Gilliman's points? I think Gilliman's very good. For 355, solid. All right, let's rock in the Hive Tyrant. I kind of like that the Winged Hive Tyrant is less because he's harder to hide, so it ends up dying more often. Where does it put us on our calculation here? Did I close my calculator like a dumbass? No. It puts us to 1520. We have 480 points left to spend. We could take... I guess we could take the Neuro Tyrant, but I'm not like convinced that it's necessary because the entire list is Synapse, basically. We could just take the dumb Carnifex team, but I don't know if it survives, honestly. Maybe just do Tyrannifexes is the game plan. Vindicare Assassin is 80 points. That's nuts. That's so good. I agree the old one-eye team is very good, but it's only good when it actually connects. And it's so difficult to connect with it. You can't put it in like a transport. You can like strategic reserve it. So you can like come off the board edge and hope your opponent gave you something to charge with like a rapid ingress or something. Maybe we just like windmill slam it and call it good. This might be the addition to skip as a Tyranid player. Yeah, maybe. It does not look good. Compared to Space Marines remaining the same points cost and getting Osa Moment, Tyranids losing access to basically every stratagem and ability in their army. Tyranids not having an army ability is a little bit awkward. Little awk. I think I think the Tyrannifex is like a toss-up between Rupture Cannon and Acid Spray. I really like the Acid Spray because its Overwatch is really strong, but on the flip side, the Rupture Cannon gives you like more long-range punch, which is good. But the Rupture Cannon's like so swingy, I don't really like it. I think you probably just like Windmill Slam Acid Spray. Enhancements can't be put on named characters, that's correct. Alright. We're gonna stop building this list because we have 400 points left that we can fill with a bunch of stuff. So we're gonna, I'll save it in my paste bin and then we'll move on. Space Marines look so bad in comparison to Eldar. Do they? Do they, Valdor? I don't know. I don't know if you're like 500 points, or what is it? 700 points for 30 Desolators is a particularly bad comparison to anything in the game, I'm going to be honest. Look at Eldar real quick. Azerman, casual 120. Avatar of Cain for 300. So it's alright, I guess. You could like Webway him and then or reserve him and then egress and it might be okay. Dire Avengers are like the same points value. Falcons at 140, that's really good. Fire Dragons at 85. So a Falcon plus Fire Dragons is like 225. How much is Fugan? 115. So like, well, 330. It's kind of a lot, but it's still good for the whole combo. Support weapon platforms. 85 points a model. Yeah, there you go. Not only did they nerf their unit size, but they also nerfed their points value. So I think the Devastating Wounds is certainly not the end of the world. It's very good, but not the end of the world. Night Spinners at 140 is extremely good. I do feel like you kind of just windmill slam through Night Spinners. They seem really solid. It's just like twin linking into Devastating Wounds, do mortal wounds to whatever they shoot at. What were people saying about Harlequins being squatted? They're just in this. Unless like troops are gone, right? Nope, they're right there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you're on about, chat. Also, what is this? They get to take like individual models in their team? What's up with that? How come they get 5, 6, 11, and 12, and everyone else is like 5 or 10? That's weird. Fire Prism. Oh yeah, Fire Prism 125. That, all right. Yeah, maybe you're right. Oh boy. That's a little. Yeah. But one of these things is not like the other. An Eldar Fire Prism versus a Haru Specs. Oh boy. Maybe you're not wrong, chat. That's a little silly. Well, Harlequins aren't worse Craft World Eldar. They just are Craft World Eldar. It's just they just are Craft World Eldar units now. I don't know what to tell you. Woodboy Gate is 220. You get absolutely slapped. That's not very good. Wraithguard 155 for 5 seems good. The fact that Wraith Blades are more expensive is a little bit silly. Wraith Knight at 370 seems pretty solid. It definitely doesn't feel like, like you windmill slam 3 of them. But I do think that like 1 to 2 Wraith Knights is probably good. Fire Prisms at 125 can't be a correct points value though, right? I hope that's a typo. That's fucking nuts. Warwalkers are 95 points. A Warwalker is 30 points less than a Fire Prism. It was like, Warwalkers do, I mean, they're like, Warwalkers are weirdly super tough to kill. They take like 2 laser beams now, right? But, I mean, I guess they just built in 2 Bright Lances into their profile, which I guess makes sense, but definitely not as good as a Fire Prism. Yeah, I think you're just like rocking every single big tank with a big gun. Speaking of big tanks with big guns, let's look at Tau Empire. How are they looking? How many big tanks with big guns can we fit into in a Tau Empire army, chat? Do you think Hammerhead gunships go to 125? Um, 145. Oh, so they basically didn't change, right? Because they were like 150. Long Strike 170, Skyray 160. It's no that's no Fire Prism. Although they are tougher, right? Because they're higher, they're more wounds, higher toughness. Fire Prism should be 1250. They forgot to 0, yeah. Sport weapons at 85 is insane, is it? That one seems fine. Because the sport weapons were previously 65 points per AD cannon. And they basically got like the devastating wounds effect for 20 points a model and restricted to only 3 per army. I still think he probably windmill Sam all 3, but I don't. That's definitely not as good as it was. Broadside battlesuits are 110 apiece. Yeah, so a broadside battlesuit, a like move 4 model with a 2-shot las cannon, is 15 points less than a Fire Prism that has a 2-shot 6 damage gun and can like shoot indirectly and is a move 16 tank with a billion wounds. I don't know. I guess all the crisis, all the battle suits get free drones now, so they're actually kind of cracked. Like everything's just like at minimum plus 2 wounds. Crisis battle suits though, Jesus Christ, they're like 65 points a model. Oh my god, for a unit that caps its strength 8, unless it wants to get like directly up right next to its opponent and shoot like a 12-inch range gun. Storm Surge at 405. These points values are too high. They're too damn high. Devilfish at 95. Yeah, so like a lot of the infant, basically very little changed for Tau. They just like everyone else got more toughness value and they lost their big railgun shot. So it's just worse. Ugh. Balance team just doesn't exist? Maybe. How about Thousy Sons? They also look good. How many Rubric Marines can we spam? Scarabacle Terminators, 41 points model. And you can supercharge their guns, right? So they go kind of aren't insane. But only if you are only if you have the CP to spend on it. Magnus the Red also 410. Where are rubrics at? Everything begins with a T because it's all Thousand Suns something. Rubrics are 19 points a model. Is that what that comes out at? No. Yeah, 19 points a model. That's probably okay. Because you can just teleport them around and warp flamer people. Their Vindicators are less expensive than Space Marine ones. I guess because they don't have they don't get O's a moment like baked in. Riptides can't do anything. Yeah, Riptides are horrible. The Tau Index was like, I was hoping it had some interesting and cool mechanics in it, and the Tau Index is really super disappointing to me. Tau and Votann were both like, hey, we'll just forget to like change any stats. We've changed every other the entire damage curve of the game, but none of your stats have been changed to suit it, which is just insane. Necrons are gonna be kind of interesting. They're pushing for like 85 point lords. Do we say the Royal Warden was 40, right? And that guy just like, oh, and the Cryptex, excuse me, are real cheap for what they do. Where's the Technomancer? 60? I guess it's not the cheapest. Silent King at 470. Well, at least they upcharge that guy. I do think Silent King's probably worth the 470 because he's insane. But I'm glad that he did go up, because I think if he had remained at his previous points level, he would have been broken. At 470, he's extremely good, but I don't think he's overpowered. But he's just like functionally impossible to kill, because you have to kill him. You have to get through his reanimators, which are how many points? Oh, is it called a Canoptech reanimator? It is. So 100 points. You just like lock one or two of those into your list almost all the time. You have to get through his reanimators. So even if you don't, you can kill his Mineers, which are like a 1+ save and cover at T10 or whatever. Then he just starts regenerating them, and then shoots you with them, rerolling ones to hit and wound, which is really, really good. Which he also does for the rest of his army too. I do think that guy's great. Chronomancer for 50 also, yeah. So you have cheap characters, that's good. The big characters, they're a little pricey. Sarah's at 220 is a lot. His abilities are really good, but 220 is like, maybe we miss him. I love that the Transcendent Catan is so expensive. Why is it more expensive than the character Catan shards? It's weird. It's not that much better. You can give it the 4+ feel no pain, which is very funny. So it's like extremely difficult to kill, but it doesn't heal, which I think is why you can give it the 4+ feel no pain, because it's half damage, ignore on 4s, so it's extremely difficult to do damage to. But on the flip side, it's not regenerating any of that damage. Necron Warriors are at 12. So you're up like 300, almost 400 maybe, if you're building a big brick of them. And a Ghost Ark is 125. So if you're really supporting it, it's like a 500-point combo. Doomstalker at 125? What is the Doomsday Arc at? 185? I guess that's fair. That thing is insane. Doomstalker it did significantly less damage, right? Because it has the little baby version of the gun. So you kind of have to take like Technomancers with the +1 to hit aura to make Doomstalkers work. But I think you can make it work, right? How many? What is their damage value? They only shoot for 3, right? I wish I could find. I wish I just had a link to the new download section. It's very annoying. Hello, Inky. How are you doing today? You want to come visit and talk about 40k stuff? Necrons, here they are. Oops. So it's D6 +1, 14 AP3 for 3. Oh, it's heavy though? I guess that makes sense, because it is the Doomsday Cannon. And the Technomancer gives +1 to hit in an aura, right? If he takes the control node. Yeah, so you could kind of like get around the heavy penalty if you just take the little guy. Can you have multiples of the same character in a list? 2 E-Champ for Votann. I don't know what an E-Champ is, but generally speaking, yes. You can't have 2 of the same epic hero. So if they're epic hero keyworded, they're restricted. But any other unit, you can take up to 3 of the same data sheet. Yeah. You're going to come visit. Nope. Can't escape. How about Orks? Where are we at for Orks? Beast Snagus, 10 and a little bit points. Boys are cheap. Damn, boys are real cheap. Like 8 points a model. That's pretty good. Gaz 235. So like Gaz and 20 Orc boys is just 400. It's probably fine. The problem is you can't put them in a unit, which is awkward. Or you can't put them in a transport, which is weird. Where's this Stampa? Stampa 800. I was kind of hoping for Stampa like sub 600. 800's a lot. That thing's really good, but I don't know if it's 800 points good. What about the Mech Boy Workshop? Is 80? That's still also a lot. Mozrog Scragbad is 200. That's probably fine. And the Squigosaur boss is 165. How much are their enhancements? Oh, they get a whole page by themselves just for their enhancements. So if he takes the Kill Choppa, he's 185. What about Warbikes? 150. And a Def Killa is 90. So 240 for Warbikes. Squig Hogs are 220 and a Knob is 75, so 300. So you're like 15, right? And then you drop 400 on the big Squigosaur guys, so you're at 800, and you have 1,200 to play with, which is like transports with dudes inside. That all sounds pretty reasonable, honestly. Wraith Knight's less than half a Stampa. Yeah, but the new Stampa profile is like pretty good. I think that let's go back to Orks here. I think that I wouldn't discount Orks in that fight. What's the Orc index? Did they get killed by two Wraith Knights? If they take all guns, probably, right? Just because they can auto 6 everything. The Wraith Knight Alpha Strike is like probably a little bit problematic, I think. But if the Stampa gets in, it's just gonna cut that thing in half. Can you put Gaskell in it? Oh no, only 22 guys. So you can't put Gaskell and his boys inside. That's sad. I honestly, outside of the Fire Prism, I don't think that Marine and Eldar power levels are that different. I unironically, I think that Marines are just about as broken as Eldar. And I'm happy to be proven wrong. Because Eldar are much trickier than Marines are, and I think Marines definitely there's the potential that they're too straightforward and they can't really compete. But I do think that like Marine players just like windmill slamming 20 or 30 Desolators on the table, and at a moment their entire opponent's army to death in one turn is like for sure gonna happen. I don't think that like comparing things to Marine points is even that, you know. I think you just compare like you can't be like, well, ignore this faction because their points are too low, because that's the points that we have, you know. All right. From there, I've sort of target looked at whatever I want to, so let's just go down the list, I think. Sisters retain 11 points a model. Sacrosancts, what is that? 16? Or not quite, right? 13. 13 points model. That's maybe okay. They have no damage output in this faction, though. I think you need to spam, like, Retributors and tanks, maybe? Retributors are 130. For somehow less than Devastators? Or more than Devastators? Okay. And the Castigator is 150. The Exorcist is 140. Oh, Exorcist at 140 is okay. That's pretty solid. The Castigator's like too expensive though. Why is that thing 150 and that stupid Fire Prism's 125? It doesn't make any sense at all. Celestine for 150? Yeah, you have to remember that she's like significantly less useful than she was though. She kind of wants to be in a big unit. Paragon Warsuits retain at 80 is like just kind of a slap in the face. That's super shitty. Mortifiers at 60. Penitents at also 60. Ugh. Those are... What is this like? This 4-wound walker craze where they're like every 4-wound walker is a 60-point model. Despite the fact that they're like literally 80% less survivable than like the equivalent points in a big tank. They're just like damage. They're just damage like fire hoses, but you'll never actually get there because you can only take 2 or 3 models into squad, and they only have 4 wounds. It's like literally a single shooting activation for most of the units in the game is going to kill them. Morphinvol's 135, so her unit is almost 400 for her re-rolling Paragon Warsuit brick. Bleh. Custodes. Alara's Custodians are minimum 2 now? I don't even think I noticed that. For 65 points a model. they can take individuals. Only them, though. Nobody else. Custodian Guard are... What? Not quite 50? 45? I think that might be too expensive. I think if you push Custodian Guard to like the 35 to 40 point range, they might be able to like critical mass themselves, but I might be wrong. I think you just spam Custodian Guards in this army, though. At least until we know the Forge World stuff, because the Forge World stuff could be transformative. Also, Prosecutors can take individual unit sizes. That's so weird. Oh, it's probably because you're supposed to build a Knight Centura out of the kit. That's stupid. Whatever. Virtus Praetors at 90 is really rough. I don't think I like that very much. Maybe they're like the Land Raider. Are they like the Land Raider faction? Are you just rocking Venerable Land Raiders and calling it a day and using them to deliver folks? They can only put... They can put 6 Custodians in a Land Raider, right? That might be fine. Well, that might actually be the way to go. I guess you can't put 6 into a unit, though. But, like, 400 points for 5 Custodian Guards in a Land Raider is, like, maybe fine. Plus characters. You get, like, Trajan in there. You get a Shield Captain in one of them. And then some utility stuff to like, soak up the backline. I don't know. That might be the way I would go. Because I think you have a tough time delivering Move 6 models right now. One Land Raider? Yeah, 3 might be overkill. I think you run out of real estate for them. Mechanicus, hope they're super cheap. Doesn't look like it, though. Fulgurites at 80. Iron Striders. Iron Striders at 50. Nah, they only have one-shot guns now, though. 50 is like, it's okay. Cataphrod Breachers at 50, though. Why are Cataphrod Breachers the same points value as an Iron Strider? I mean, their gun's better, I guess, so it's fine. Cataphrod Breachers do seem like the unit, but they're not that tanky, right? They're kind of, like, easy to kill. Where's my page? For Adeptus Mechanicals. They're a 3+ save, bad save, 3 wounds. But they full reroll their hit rolls. They can get heavy. They're like anti-vehicle 4+. Is that good? I feel like it's not. For 50 points? Maybe? Maybe it's good? Is it good? I don't know. It's so many points. That was the one unit I thought was like actually a standout from that index. And they seemed extremely expensive. Skitari are all like 10 plus points per model? What the fuck? For a guardsman? With a slightly better gun? Okay. Sidonian Dragoons are 75. Maybe we're just like back on the Iron Strider chain. Maybe you just rock a billion Iron Striders. 50 points a model is like kind of insane for a dude with a twin-linked gun. All right. We talked about Eldar. Militarum. Sentinels at least went up. Thank God. They were so busted at 40 points a model. Oh my God. The big Baney guys are 500, give or take. Shock Troopers are 6.5 points a model. Yeah. That's pretty cheap. Lehman or Russ are all in like the 200 point range. That feels pretty appropriate. That might even be a little low, but I think that compared to the other stuff and how cheap it is, that does feel pretty okay. What about their arty, though? That's the real question. Hellhounds, 125. It's a support model. What are we worried about? Wyverns? No. Yes? Manticores. 105? Oh yeah, you just play 3 of those. Wyverns at 90, we might also play 3 of those. I do wonder if you get to the point where you just start to like run into kind of diminishing returns because you can like no longer hide your armor, so you end up just getting kind of like plastered. But yeah, you just Wyverns at 105 is like a little silly. Basilisks at 110, but their profile is like awkward. They're only good against like medium infantry, honestly. Yeah, I think that, yeah, the indirect fire game is like sort of nuts right now. I think you're right, chat. Can models embarked in a transport use their abilities? No, they're not on the battlefield. Yeah, that is a little bit problematic. I agree. The front line doesn't feel that strong. It may be that like you kind of run out of points of Lehman Rust to take, but if the Manticores do their job, then you're kind of just killing people. Chaos Demons. Be'lakor at 325? That's pretty good points value right there. Oh, the spoiled points for Lord of Change was correct. 230. Kairos Feyweaver at 285. Oh my God. It definitely feels like it feels like they just they accidentally trip over themselves every once in a while. They're just like typing points values in, and then oops, that was supposed to be a 3, but ended up as a 2. Because the Lord of Change is like a sick gun. And Kairos Feyweaver is also a pretty good gun. And Be'lakor is pretty sweet. What's Shalaxi? Oh, 400. Yeah, that does make sense. Fair enough. She does have like a million las cannons on her arms, so that does make sense. Bloodthirster at 300 is like pretty cool. So 2 Lord, like LOC plus Kairos plus Be'lakor plus Bloodthirster is like 1,000? A little over? These two are 515, and these two are 625, so 1140. And then you just like windmill slam the rest in as like support stuff. It's probably just fine. Yeah, demons do look pretty solid. I do think that people are I think people are transposing a lot of their feelings about demons into 10th edition. I don't think that demons are going to be as good as they were in 9th. I think people are like, oh, demons are so strong. Now they're going to, like, now their points went down. They're going to be so much stronger. But so much of demons' game plan rested entirely on the back of reality rebels, and that has been removed. So I think that I don't think that demons are going to be quite as good as people think they are, but I do think they're going to be extremely powerful. But people are being like, demons are #1 in 10th edition. There's no way you can ever defeat Bellicor. And I'm like, I don't know, man. He's just like a big dude. You shoot him a couple of times, he'll go away. On turn 2. Turn 1, you probably can't shoot him. Turn 2, you sure can. But that's, yeah, I mean, that's like a combination of models that doesn't really care so much about those, like, 125-point laser beams sitting in the back of the Eldar army because they can't shoot them for most of the game. Yeah, what are flamers at? 23? 22 points? Exalted Flamer is 70. So it's 200. 6 of the Flame with Exalted is 200. You probably don't take the Exalted Flamer at all. You just maybe take 1 so you can advance and do stuff. And then you just take little units that you can like pop in on people's objectives and then burn away their objective secured stuff. Dealing with tanks at range is going to be a problem, but I mean, it seems like you can kind of rock 5 greater demons without a problem. So I actually think that's probably fine. I'm glad I own a demons army, chat. Pretty good. These guys seem sweet. Chaos Knights. Oh boy. These seem a little abusive. Knight Tyrant at 485. 525 with the Curse Knight. Brigands are 150. Oh, excuse me. I don't think you take any of these, by the way. I think all these knights are terrible. I think you just windmill slam Knight Tyrants with flamethrowers, and the rest of your list is War Dogs. War Dog, Carnivore, like you take like 0 to 1 Stalkers to be your character. Everything else is Carnivores and Brigands. And then you take the Panoply of the Cursed Knight Tyrant guy, and he's just invincible. Yeah, that seems absolutely disgusting. Chaos Knights are going to be incredible. Cast Space Marines. Hard time, I guess like they don't pay for marks anymore, right? I have a little bit of a hard time like piecing together how strong Space Marines are going to be because they're Chaos Space Marines, I should say, because all of their abilities like are very dice dependent, right? As long as you like perform Dark Pact and don't destroy yourself with them, they're going to be incredible. Obliterators at 80 points is probably good, but they're not super cheap. I was a little bit worried they'd be like 65 and get once per game indirect fire and just like vaporize half of your army in one go. Let's go. But they do pay a little bit of premium. Havoc's at 135 is kind of a lot. Lord Discordant at 220. Their characters are all a little pricey. Abaddon at 280 is probably good. I think that like his big Terminator brick is probably pretty strong. Just because you can just sink like every single buff on it. Anything with a 2+ save has a premium added to it? I mean, it should. They wrote the cover rules so bad that they made 2+ saves broken as hell, so. I mean, that's how it should work. But honestly, maybe you don't break the cover rules next time. We wouldn't have to have this discussion. Dark Angels, Deathwing Knights are 470. I mean, good. I was a little worried that unit would be way too strong, but being hyper expensive that is good. That they're not just like invincible god machines. They're like -1 damage, +1 OC, 6 West Feel No Pain, or what do they have? -1 or +1 saving throw. All this stuff. Just stack them all on top of each other. Every defensive buff. Death Guard. So the real question about Death Guard, in my opinion, was Plague Marines. Are Plague Marines like 15 points? 20 points? Oh, that's so expensive. Well, they didn't change like any of their points values. What the fuck? How about do they pay more for a Predator than Space Marines do? What is a Space Marine Predator? 135, 130. No fucking way, dude. Death Guard. Oh, Death Guard pay 130. Is that good? With Hellbrutes? Hellbrutes are 155, but they are also kind of like the support piece. Where is Plague Witch Crawler? 175. Yuck. That's a lot. But like Predator Annihilator, it's like can -1 toughness somebody at range with the Hellbrute, and then you shoot like 4 lance cannons at them. Is that something? Maybe Mephitic Blighthaulers at 115 though? Maybe not. But then you're just playing Space Marine units, and you might as well just like play Space Marines. You're not really playing Death Guard at that point if you're just rocking tanks that are the same profile across every faction. Yeah, the Lord of Virulence is good, but he's also 115 points, and he attaches to Blightlord Terminators that are 35 points model. I guess that's not, in terms of a Terminator, that's not terrible, right? Because they're like 6 points less than most Terminators. But it's not great. Death Shroud Terminators are 40 points a model, 45? 48 almost? Ugh. Jesus. Yeah, I was like, honestly, I was really pulling for Plague Marines to be like super cheap. And then the play pattern be like, Windmill slam 30 like 60 Plague Marines. Put like different characters in all of them, so they all have different like abilities. Swarm the table with like OC2 annoying to kill infantry, but it definitely does not seem like what you're doing. That might still be like playable, but I don't like you can't afford enough characters to make it worthwhile, it feels like. I don't know. I don't like it, Death Guard. Drukhari. Court of the Archon, 95 points. It's kind of a steal. Plus Cabinet Warriors, plus the Archon. The whole unit's 300? Not even. 270. Or 290. Lilith is 105 plus like 5. Oh, Witches can only be taken in 10s now, though. That's awkward. Oh, but you can split them if you take them into Venoms, right? So 215 for Lilith and a Witch Squad. Scourges are 120. They are just basically better Devastators, so that's good. Ravagers are 95? Hold up. Wait. That might be okay. Ravagers are 95 for 3 laser beams. Void Raven Bomber is 195 for 4 laser beams that are better and has a big bomb on it. But you can't bomb until like turn a billion, so I don't think it's good. Talos Pain Engines are 90? That's too expensive. They're too... Well, you can like -1 to wound them, right? It's probably too expensive. Is it? 180 for 2 twin-linked heat lances? Probably. I'm going to say yes. But Reaver jet bikes are 150 for a unit of 6. Let me go find the Reaver jet bike datasheet. How many heat lances can we pack into Reaver jet bikes? The real question is, how many heat lances can we pack into a Drukhari army, I think, at any point? And the answer is, seems like kind of a lot. The downside is that they're fly, so like they're fly, but they're melta, so like they can advance and do. They're assault, excuse me, so they can advance and do their thing. And they are 1 per 3, right? For every 3 models, 1 guy gets a blaster or heat lance. So you can put 2 heat lances, right? 1 model, yeah, can this is one of the following. So you'd never ever take the blaster, right? There's like literally never a reason. Oh, it does higher base damage at longer range, but who cares? Take the higher strength, I mean, any day. And the Melta profile. So I feel like we're packing like triple Scourges every time with 1 billion Heat Lances or Dark Lances, and we're packing like triple Ravagers every time. And then a couple Raiders with like the cool Court of the Archon with its like cool Cablite Warrior brick that gets a bunch of like what do they do, like +1 to hit lances, and then like a witch unit to like clear infantry with Lilith to get you your 2nd pain token. The Homunculus seem totally worthless, so I wouldn't play them. But basically, as long as you can spam as many heat lances as possible, and I think maybe the rest of it is you just start like filling the rest with Talos and Chronos. Oh, Chronos are 50 points. Okay. You definitely rock like 2 of those just for support, because you're going to be paying tons and tons of pain tokens to Alpha Strike people. Unironically, Chad, I think Drukhari are eminently playable. I actually think they're pretty okay. Scourges are 5 for 120 or 10 for 200. It's because the extra 5 models in the unit get their like shitty carbine gun. They don't get the cool heavy weapon. So the first 4 get the cool heavy weapon, and then everyone else gets the crappy anti-infantry gun. So you only get 4 heavy weapons. So you probably only ever play 5s. You never pay for the extra idiot models because you don't want the extra. You don't want like to eat blast for no reason. Drukhari do seem scary. Yeah, I think the Cavalite, yeah, because the Court of the Archon makes the Cavalite unit too big because the Raider only holds 12, right? So, or 11. So you have to ground pound it, but that's fine because it gets a bunch of defensive benefits anyway from the Archon being attached, right? So I think it's okay. In the commentary they posted today, no, we talked about the commentary beforehand. You cannot modify damage to 0. You can replace damage with 0 if you have like an impossible rub effect, but you cannot reduce damage to 0 with a damage reduction effect. Here's my kitty, by the way. She's coming to say hi. Inky, say hi, chat. Hello. It's cute. Good job, girl. You're doing great. Gene Stealer cults. Achilles Ridge Runners are 75 points, so you probably don't pay too many points for them. The ones with +1 to hit seem okay, actually. Maybe it's fine. But definitely, like, you're like, I feel like 1 to 2 Achilles Ridge Runners in every list just to give you all of the benefits when they shoot at people. Because you give +1 AP and you give ignore cover if you have the survey augurs on them, which seems really strong. And then the rest of them just take the +1 to hit gun, or the +1 to hit upgrade. And then Neophyte Hybrids are just 8 points a model with all of their upgrades included. Reductus Saboteur for 55. She's like 55 and 1 CP, but she does like 3d3 mortal wounds plus a demolition charge and a grenade, right? A grenade strap for free or whatever. Yeah, she blows something up with her explosives, then she grenades for free, then she shoots with her demolition charge, right? So she does like 1,000 damage. I really like the Reductus Saboteur. The characters otherwise are kind of expensive though. Patriarch for 85 is solid. Primus for 70 is a lot, but it does give full rerolls. Where are Neo or Acolyte Hybrids? 15 points a model? That is a little bit pricey. It definitely seems like the Neophyte brick. Like the Neophyte day. You rock the 120 Neophytes and you call it good. There's no prisoners anymore too, so you don't even get like hella punished for it. Grey Knights. Grey Knights are going to be interesting. I saw some people saying that Grey Knights is the best codex in the game. I don't know if I agree with that, but I definitely think they're going to be better than people give them credit for. They are expensive as fuck. Holy shit. Interceptors, 32 points a model. Paladins, 51. Purgators, what is that? 33. Purifiers, 25. Woof. They pay for that 2+ armor save. Holy shit. That is pricey. Nemesis Dread Knights are 215. I do think it feels to me like it's a Nemesis Dread Knight list, like a Nemesis Dread Knight faction. You're just like playing Nemesis Dread Knights and Tech Marines, and then the Dread Knights are like alpha striking people as hard as they can. And their guns aren't very good, but at least they can shoot anything they want to. And so the hope is that you just get to kill your opponent's weak stuff early. So, I don't know. Maybe it's good. This is the faction I have to see on the table. For sure. I have no idea what to expect out of them. Honestly. 3 Paladins across the 3 characters is the list, yeah. How much is Caldor Drago? 155. It's a little expensive. He does give his benefit. His buff is sweet. Like an auto charge is amazing. Imperial Knights. Castellan is 5 Hunskies. Canis Rex is 405. Oh, that's a good points number for that guy. Armigers at 140 is solid. Although their Armigers are way worse than War Dogs. It's kind of crazy. Leagues of Votann do not look like they have made the transition well. I think the one this is rough. Hearthgate Warriors at like 14 points. Oh my god. Sagittarius at 120. This is just bad. This is just not good points. 245 for Hecaton Land Fortress? Yeah. You can't reduce everyone's ballistic skill by 1 and then keep them the same points level. What the fuck are you thinking? I think the one way that this faction was going to be good is if the Hearthkin Warriors were like 8 points a model or something, and you just rocked like 30 or like 50 Hearthkin Warriors and 6 Sagittars in every single list. But 6 Sagittars is 720 points already, and they don't do any damage. They're straight 7. Like straight 7 AP1. Let's go. But you just take like the little laser beam gun on the missile launcher on top now. Ugh. So I think Death Dreads are worth 150? Not really. You know what we didn't look at when we looked at Orks was Killicans, because the Killican profile is actually kind of sick. I should just be searching. Oh, that's not what I want. Killicans. They're 50 points each. That's probably good. For a missile launcher that ignores cover, so it's like is basically AP3 and can get +1 to hit from a mech. If they don't accidentally just shoot the mech to death, which is, I mean, honestly, like kind of just worth it for the hilariousness alone. So for 350 points, you get 6d3, like strength 9, AP3, 3 damage, which is like, it's pretty okay. I did think Killican's probably worth. Death Dread at 150 feels like a lot though. They're like tough to kill now. They're like 2+ save at least, but I don't think they're ever gonna actually make it to combat. You need to take fast stuff in Orks, it feels like, to synergize with the WoW. Yeah, Canis Rex is like nuts for sure. That dude gonna be all over the place. Support Leagues of Votann got fucking nuked. Holy shit. They're paying like elite points cost for an army that's supposed to die to trigger its faction ability. Like, okay. Space Wolves, whatever. 1,000 Suns we talked about. World Eaters. Angron's expensive. 8-pounder expensive. Exalted 8-pounder. 60 points a model. Corn Berserker is at 23. What are these points values, dude? I guess like they're super fast, right? So like, I bet World Eaters play better on the table than it feels like they do, and I bet they play in like Land Raiders and stuff. I think they play much more mid range than you expect them to out of the last edition, where they're just like run across the table and hit people with 8-pound. But now you have to put them in transports and then deliver them. But once you deliver them, they're like fast as fuck, boy. It's pretty high likelihood you get +2 movement and advance in charge. Do Killicans benefit from faction buffs now? Yeah. Yeah, they got rid of the whole like the Orc clan thing, and Grots aren't part of the clan or whatever. All of that chicanery is gone. Now as long as you have the ability on your datasheet, you get it. Which I imagine Killicans do. They may not have WA, but to be fair, I don't even think that they care that much. They're just Orcs, so you just target all your buffs on them. Stupid Death Killer Wartrike. Thing's it's haunting me from, yeah, they just get WA now. It's haunting me from Speed Freaks. Thing's pretty dumb in that game. Guard Rider seems like they misunderstood the assignment. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some factions that you just look at and you're just like, they just don't do anything. And especially compared to some other factions that are just like wildly undercosted. Like Leagues of Votann, what the fuck? Death Guard, what the fuck? Sisters, like cut their like melee damage output by like 3/4, and then kept them the same points value for the most part. It's just like insanity. I don't know. Feels like we could use another go around of this points document. Thank you very much. I'm not super excited about it, honestly. It seems a little bit broken, but maybe that's okay. Do I have a tier list in mind already? Yeah, I think I'm gonna do one next week after I play some games this weekend. I want to grind Tyranids with the points and just see if like the stat skew works. 125 point heart respects might be okay. I don't know. But We'll see. It's at least now we have the points. I do think that like I definitely expected things to drop harder than they did. But so I'm a little on my last legs with Tyranids, but we'll give it a shot. But I'll play against a bunch of the stuff over the weekend. So if you are not following my Twitch channel already, first off, we're gonna have some games, 9th edition games, scheduled tonight, 9 p.m. U.S. Eastern. So we're starting in about 8.5 hours over on the Purple channel, twitch.tv/TacticalTortoise. Please go give me a follow over there. If you haven't already. So I'm going to be commentating those, and we'll probably talk about 10th edition and, you know, just like shoot the shit a little bit. And then this weekend, I'll just probably grind a ton of games. So I'll be streaming all weekend for sure on the Twitch channel. And Nurgle feeds despair, so maybe Death Guard were done lore correct. Is that? I thought Nurgle was like the happy Chaos God. He's like all up and all having a great time and stuff. He loves it. He loves talking about things. I didn't skip the only B name factions are just like Space Marine chapters, and I'm not that interested in talking about like the cost of individual Space Marine characters. So I didn't talk about the individual chapters. It's all everything's online. Like you can go look at them if you want to. I don't know if that's a particularly interesting content. Lord of Skulls is 420, blaze it. Yeah, bird meta is here for sure.
Knight prices down, shooty vehicle edition, so Knight meta for first few tourneys confirmed.
Gareth Hackney, thanks for the super chat. I don't know if I'm prepared to say it's Knight meta, but I'm certainly prepared to say it's vehicle meta. I do think that people are going to skew, like, in order to fight the meta, you have to skew so hard into vehicles that it may actually push Knights out, because every single army is going to have literally nothing but vehicle killing power. There's no way that doesn't happen. Especially since, like, you look at Desolators, you look at, like, Zoanthropes, you look at all these random profiles that are good in both situations. We're like, well, we're going to go killing vehicles because we have, like, a D3 plus 3 damage, you know, a D6 plus 1 damage, like, laser beam on our missile launcher. And then we also have a blast weapon in addition. So it's even hard to skew infantry right now. Plus, like, Flamers are just good. Overwatch, like, wrecks them. So I don't think infantry is, like, super live. But tanks are incredibly tough to kill, and they also kill other tanks well. So everyone's going to bring a billion tanks, the billion huge armor-cracking guns. And if Knights can't fight through that, I think they're actually maybe going to struggle. But it depends. I don't know. Knights do seem good. I think Chaos Knights seem better than Imperial Knights right now, if I had to guess. Largely because their Tyrant is like strictly superior, and their Battle Shack abilities are actually kind of sweet. Playing Votann as Space Wolves? Yeah. Just proxy it. Proxy hammer it up, for sure. Canis Rex and a Vindicator Assassin in every single Imperium army? Yeah. That is good. That is pretty good. Which armies field good tank armies? I mean, Militarum for sure. Space Marines for sure. Eldar for sure. Knights because they don't have any other units. And then, like, I don't know. Everybody else is kind of like Necrons, maybe? I don't know how to feel about the Necron ones. The Doomsday Arc is like sort of nutso, because that thing shoots super hard. So that might be playable. Plus, it has an invulnerable save, which is strong. I don't know. Could be okay. Necrons may also be the one faction that can actually, their infantry can actually survive because the reanimation protocol stuff is so good. And the Silent King is amazing. That guy's just like a tank destroyer upper. Yeah, looks fair. Imperial Knights or Imperium factions can bring a single Imperial Knight in their army, a single Imperial Knight unit. What vehicles would fit Deathwatch fluff? I don't know. You just play Gladiator Lancers and Vindicators, and you call it a day. Deathwatch just like play whatever is tactically sound, right? Deathwatch are all about the tactics. So I feel like if anybody's going to crunch the numbers and play like the most mathematically optimal unit, it would be first Iron Hands and then Deathwatch. So I don't know. Kind of feels like it. Demons have a shot with Soul Grinders, Skull Cannons, Flamers, and Blood Crushers. I wouldn't call demons like tanks, honestly. And I don't even know if like Soul Grinders and stuff are the way to go. I mean, the Greater Demons just look like super competitively costed. They're like super tough to kill. Most armies can't shoot them on the first turn, which is like sort of insane. They have like insane threat ranges because the whole army can, like anything in the army can advance a charge for a CP. They kill most vehicles they touch in one shot, and then on the swing back, they're not even that easy to kill because like everything's stealth, everything's invulnerable saves everywhere. Like I don't know, demons feel like they can compete, but in a different way, which to be fair is how demons should work. So I think it's good. Oh yeah, Void Dragon good for Necrons too. Yeah, just starts siphoning wounds off vehicles. He's like, "What's up, dude? I heal. I have damage, and then he take your damage, and then also heal my damage at the beginning of the game." That'd be the turn for sure. Why can't Orcs bring looted Imperial Knights? You just get an Imperial Knight and you make it a Stompa. You get a Canis Rex, and that's your Stompa. Give him a big cannon on his shoulder. All of the can be equipped with weapons are just free? Yes. Every single... Yeah, there are no paid weapon upgrades in the game anymore. If you have a weapon upgrade that you can take without losing anything, you'll always take it. The reason that they're like they phrase it as can be equipped with is because the models usually have it as an option. All right, chat. I'll go ahead and timestamp this video. I'm not going to go back over every faction and my my breakdown of them. So you can go back and watch the video if you want to take a look at what I said. I'm going to go ahead and pop off though. This has been interesting. I feel like I'm always a little bit disappointed with points changes. There have been very few points change documents where I've been like, whoa, they nailed it. They really nailed it. It's great. Usually that's reserved for for data slate updates. I do think that there are some factions that definitely got off better, and there are some factions that look very bad. But you know, maybe people can find a way to make them work. I don't know. But hopefully, I'm hoping that we get like a knee-jerk fix in the near future and not just like wait for 3 months, because this is going to be a rough couple months, I think, if the points document doesn't change in a bit. I don't think they should change anything like tomorrow, but I do think they should like a couple weeks in the future and we get some feedback. I think I would like to see them change, but we'll see. Every 3 months is the number that we've been given, so hopefully we get a nicer one down the road, but maybe that's wishful thinking. Is the Toxicrin finally usable? No. No, it is not. It's extremely bad. All right, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. I will be live again in about 8 hours over on Twitch. You can join me in the link down below. The video is my link tree. Please go find me over there, and we're gonna have a great time. We're gonna stream a couple games. I'm gonna get bevved up a little bit. We're gonna hang out. It's gonna be sweet. So I'm psyched. Please join me tomorrow. I'll be live on Twitch. I'll probably be jamming 10th edition games with the new points values as much as I can all day tomorrow and probably most of the day Sunday as well. So please come hang out. with me there. It's going to be a ton of streaming going on, and it'll be great. So cheers, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Remember to keep it classy, folks. Have happy wargaming, and I'll talk to you later.